Presidential candidate Bernie Sanders recently made 2 campaign stops in San Diego, California at the start of his West Coast tour. One of the speeches was delivered to a crowd of some 10,000 people in a largely working-class immigrant community near the U.S.-Mexico border. Countless families in this region have been divided by the immigration policies of the political establishment. While Sanders is seeking to direct opposition behind the Democratic Party and the capitalist system, many of those supporting his campaign are looking for a way to oppose social inequality and war. We spoke to students and workers at the rally about the political issues surrounding the 2016 election and the fight for socialism.
I think that they're trying to marginalize us. I think they're trying to push us all against each other instead of focusing on the changes that we want. I think that wealth and power play such an influence on politics that the fact that Hillary is winning by these incredibly corrupt and everything that's just gone on in Nevada. I think it kind of shows the corruptness in the system and how far she's gotten with such popular support that Bernie has really made it very obvious to millennials that the system's rigged.
And the fact is that more than 1 in 5 children in this country live in poverty. 22% of children live in poverty, and we should be ashamed as the most powerful, wealthiest nation in the history of the world to not take basic care of our most vulnerable citizens. There's countless people who are working full-time who still live in poverty in this country. I think if you work 40 hours a week, you should be taken care of, and you're contributing, and society should help you out.
I've based my whole life on helping others, and I want to be able to do that without worrying about what insurance covers and denying people the care that they need. It's very frustrating. I didn't get into healthcare to be a nurse just to serve people that can afford it. It's not part of the oath I took.
I think that people are sick of competing against one another, and that's what capitalism is. I can do anything, you can do better. And if I can out-compete you and I made this much for myself, then I don't owe you anything. I think that kind of attitude, that mentality that kind of governs the United States at this point is turning us against one another, and people are a little sick of it.
It's not privacy versus security, like how they try to pose it. We'll lose some privacy for the sake of security. I don't buy that, because you look at how, in the name of security, dropping all these bombs on innocent women and children in Yemen, in Pakistan, that's just helped foment anger towards the United States and helped increase terrorism. You're absolutely right that things are kind of coming to a head where, at the same time as this inequality is growing to really unsustainable levels, also working people are waking up to the injustice of the system thanks to the internet and our ability to inform ourselves without having to rely on media that's just bought and paid for by big companies like Comcast.
I just had a baby this past year, and I'm just dumbfounded after I've gone through it to know that there's women dropping their babies off at 6 weeks. That's absurd. And they tell you to feed your child breast milk for 6 months. You don't even have the ability to do that if you have to go back to work after 6 weeks. And that's what we base our foundation on, our children. We're doing everything for the children, but we're not.
As the gap between the wealthy and the poor gets bigger and bigger, we've all become this working force for minimum wage and really bad conditions, and it's not just here in the United States, it's everywhere. The
word socialism among the older generation has a negative connotation. There was the whole Red Scare, McCarthyism, and our younger generation, we didn't grow up with that. I think that's why people are not bothered. So the media was surprised that people aren't bothered how Bernie, refers to himself as a democratic socialist. So that's one thing, is that Bernie doesn't advocate that the workers own all the means of production. Bernie is not talking about nationalizing every industry. So he's not super to the far left. I think that actually he's one of the only reasonable politicians in a political system that has moved so far to the right. But I'm definitely open to socialist ideas myself personally.
Why don't people listen to the people that are in the trenches, not from somebody else that's never done it? And yet our laws are based on that. So yes, it's the people that are in the trenches should be the ones that are making the rules. It only makes sense, and it's mind-boggling.
Try to follow us as much as I can. As a reader, I try to be as much as I can.
Actually, yes.